what is your morning routine? Do you have a morning routine where you spend a little bit of time for yourself? You can take a little bit of time for yourself. So for me, I start with a cup of coffee, right? A cup of coffee, and I try not to get on the computer right away. Doesn't always work. Try not to get on my phone. Stay away from TikTok, that sort of thing. I try to have a little bit of quiet time, a little bit of devotional, spiritual time, whatever. I exercise, try to exercise on a regular basis, right? So my workout's already done. My workout's already done today. Now my 15 minutes with a book, and then perhaps some time journaling or reflecting on the stuff that you read. A lot of times we read, but we don't spend any time reflecting on it. And I ran into that when I first, like when I first tried to read the Bible, right? I just try to read it, but not try to understand it, right? So you got to have, whenever you have reading time, hopefully you have reading time, and then you take a little bit of time for reflection, right? Reflection on what it is that you read and how can you apply it, right? How can you apply it? So today, chapter 7, the syntax of success. We don't have a lot of time. Remember that the way this works is I give you the highlights, the things that jumped out at me from the chapter. I would love to have your comments, your questions, your thoughts about what it is that we're reading as well. But so syntax, what is syntax? Well, syntax is the way that we order things, right? The way that we put things in order. If we have, if we try to model somebody, right? If we do the same things that they do, then we should have the same successes that they do. That part of it is you got to put it in the right order, right? Same thing with a recipe, right? If somebody makes a great cake, right? Can you make that cake too? Absolutely. If you have the recipe and if you do things in the right order, right? So Tony Robbins looks at what's the difference between the dog bit Jim and Jim bit the dog, right? It's the order, same words, right? But it's the order that we put them in. The meaning of our experiences are determined by the orders of the signals provided to the brain, right? The same stimuli are involved, the same words, but the meaning can be different if we do it in different orders, right? The order in which things are presented causes them to register in the brain in a specific way. He says it's like the commands to a computer. If you program the commands in the right order, the computer will use all its capabilities and produce the results that you desire. But if you program the correct commands, but in a different order, you're not going to get the same outcome, right? So he talks about using strategy, right? So when you talk about the way it's all put together, that's the strategy, right? He uses the strategy to describe the factors, the kinds of internal representations we have, the necessary submodalities. Remember submodalities: audio, kinesthetic, tonal, whatever those submodalities are, and the necessary and the required syntax, the order that we do all of this in to create a particular result, right? So if you have a strategy, we do have strategies for producing just about anything in life, right? The feelings of love, attraction, motivation, decision, whatever. If we discover what actions we take and in what order to make a decision, then if we are indecisive, we can become decisive in just a matter of moments, right? If we figure out what's the order that we use, what is the strategy we use to make a decision, then when we get to that point where we are indecisive, we can go, oh, this is the strategy, and we can become decisive, right? Remember, a recipe is nothing but a strategy. It's a specific plan of what resources to use and how to use them to produce a specific result, right? And business works the same way, right? Business works the same way. One company might have superior resources, but the company with strategies that best use its resources will usually dominate in the marketplace, right? So strategies for business, strategies for financial success, right? For creating and maintaining health, right? So one of my strategies is working out, right? Like I said, I already did that this morning. For for feeling happy and love throughout your life. There's strategies for all of this, right? So what does a recipe do? So a recipe, what does a recipe tell us that empowers us to take effective actions? What does a recipe tell us that empowers us to take effective actions? Well, the first thing is the ingredients. What ingredients are needed to produce the result, right? He says in the baking of human experience, the ingredients are our five senses, right? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, taste, right? And olfactory represent the systems. So what else does a recipe? So the recipe gives us the ingredients. What else? It tells us how much, right? The amounts that we need. In reproducing our human experience, we need to not only know the ingredients, but also how much of each ingredient that we need. The submodalities are synonymous with those ingredients, right? The kinesthetic, auditory, whatever. How much visual input, how bright, how dark, how close. Yesterday we talked about making images in our mind brighter and darker, right? Or dimmer. What else? He says, is that all? So the ingredients, the amounts. What else? Well, now you need to know the order, right? The syntax. If you know the syntax of the production, when to do what and in what order, then you'll be, then you've got it all put together, right? If you were baking a cake and the first ingredient you put in was what the original baker put in last, would your result be the same? Maybe not. Okay. But if you use the same ingredients in the same amounts, in the same sequence, then you should be able to produce similar results, right? So he talks about those different building blocks of syntax being our senses, right? And we deal with our senses. We deal with our sensory input on two different levels, right? External and internal. Our syntax is the way that we put together those blocks of what we experience externally and what we represent to ourselves internally, right? So what we see and what we remember, external, internal, right? So in the last chapter, we talked about the visual submodalities, right? Making things brighter, making things dimmer, these visual modalities, submodalities in our mind. Well, we weren't really there to see the beach or the clouds or the happy times that we represented in our minds, but we experienced them in a visual manner, right? Internally. And so he says the same is true with other modalities. You can hear a train whistle outside your window. That is auditory, external, or you can hear a voice in your mind, right? That's auditory, internal. If the tone is important, then it's auditory, tonal, right? If the words that are, if the meaning, the words, the meaning are conveyed by the voice or what's important, that's auditory and digital, right? You can feel the texture of the chair that you're sitting in, right? That is kinesthetic, right? Touch and external. So anyway, if you look at all those submodalities, there's a whole bunch of different ones, right? And so in order to create a recipe, we have to have a system to describe what to do and when. And he has this notation system. We don't have time to get into it here, but I hope you're reading it, where he talks about something being external and internal and auditory, and he's got these all of these symbols for that. And so you can put together these experiences, right, by taking things that are external and making them internal, and how we come back to them, and you think about visualizing, right? We talked yesterday about visualizing, but it gets even more than that, right? I talk about golfers. When I think about visualization, I think about a golfer preparing for a golf shot, right? They visualize the swing, they visualize the club hitting the ball and the ball going through the air and where it lands and how it rolls and all of that, and that's pretty much all visual, but there's more to it than that, right? Because they can feel the swing, they feel the muscles, that are involved in the swing and the tempo, and if we truly want to visualize something, we need to use all of our senses, right? All of our senses to create that experience, right? To create that experience in our internal system. How did it feel? What were the smells that were associated? What were, how was it warm? Was it cold? Was there a breeze? All of that kind of stuff, to truly, to truly put ourselves in that position, right? To put ourselves, quote unquote, in the zone for whatever it is that we're doing. So a lot of stuff in this chapter. The whole NLP thing is intense, right? And is, I want to say time intensive, but I think time intensive to practice it, right? To get that practice. And I said yesterday in the post, I have a hard time. I have a hard time visualizing stuff. It's a struggle for me. But like anything else, with practice, right? With practice, you get better at it, right? And without practice, you don't get any better at it, right? So I want you to, read this chapter, spend a little bit of time working on the visualization and the syntax as Tony Robbins describes it here, right? So that's it. Chapter 7, right? Chapter 7 is the syntax of success. I'm glad that you joined me here on Millionaire Mindset Book Club this Wednesday morning, this fresh Wednesday morning. The rain came yesterday and cleaned our sky, cleaned the air and everything, and cooled us down a bit. And this morning it is nice and fresh, and the sky is clear and everything outside. And I hope you get a chance to take your coffee and go for a minute and sit and think about, reflect on what it is that we talked about this morning. Reflect on your day, visualize your day. How's that going to go? Remember, we make our day, right? We can visualize it from the beginning, and things always happen, right? Things always happen. But if we visualize a good day and how things are going to go, I think that sets us off in the right direction, to get started. So that's it for today, for Wednesday, the Millionaire Mindset Book Club. If you were watching on the replay, leave us a comment, right? Leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Let me know what you think. How do you feel about visualization, right? Is it something that comes easy for you, or is it difficult? I'm sure that you understand, you get the whole put things in order, the syntax of putting things in order. I think that's pretty easy. But how do we go about that with the visual, the visual auditory, visual and auditory are two different things, but how's that work for you, right? Does it work for you? Do you think it's just all kooky stuff? I don't know. Let me know what you think, right? Tomorrow, chapter 8, how to elicit somebody else's strategy, right? How to elicit somebody else's strategy. Thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow morning. If you know somebody that you believe could benefit or would be interested in the Millionaire Mindset Book Club, point them to the Facebook group, right? Just go to Facebook and Millionaire Mindset Book Club, and it'll pop up and you can join. And we would love to have you come along for the ride. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great day.